What is a super popular TV show or movie that you can't stand? They always milk the sadness. It reminds me of the Honda radio commercials where the person starts to weep a little. I can only imagine some Honda guy jerking off to it while wearing his stupid blue polo, going, "Oh yeah, you can't feed your family. Oh yeah, your mother has leukemia. Oh, you better start crying soon. Oh yeah, start crying and telling us how helpful we are." Any and every herder wear an Alaska show on TV. They all seem incredibly staged. They're filled with people who are either playing a character or must live in rural Alaska because they would be social outcasts in civilization. Every one of those reality shows have some stupid manufactured drama that simultaneously makes the protagonist look like a genius and a fucking idiot. Australian here, the blog, Big Brother, Married at First Sight. Aw fuck it, all of it, it's all shit. I'm going to the pub. Edit, for all those telling me that I can't go to the pub, I can. I'm in regional Victoria, and they're open, but I'm not going. The publican is a cunt. Thanks for the advice though, you fucking wombats. P.S. Thanks for the awards. I don't know what they mean, but I reckon I could have a beer with you cunts. 90 Day Fiancé. I liked it at first, but now it's just filled with whiny, teen-esque drama that make me wonder why they don't just break it off immediately. I get money plays a factor, but for people like the family Chandler and Stacey and Darcy, I can't help but wonder why they'd put themselves out there and be constantly in the line of drama. I like how they're in the middle of an insane drama, with a rival school and drugs and murderers, and then they just have a 5-minute dance-off between Veronica and Betty. Why? Just why? That and Jingle Jangle. Every time someone on Reddit replies with Riverdale I get immediately triggered. Jingle, fucking, Jangle. That's got to be the least threatening drug name on earth, and they drop it with a straight face trying to act like it's a serious matter. It's like saying, "Oh my god, that serial killer who only murders babies is on the loose. Oh, what's his name? General Pikachu. Number." To me it's so bad it's good. Spoilers. I mean, what's not to believe about high schoolers being presidents of middle-aged motorcycle gangs, or running their own bar, or busting their own father as a serial killer, or owning a gym for underprivileged kids after being subjected to a juvenile underground fighting to the death ring, or overtaking their mom's brothel, or their mom being undercover in a suicide cult ran by Chad Michael Murray. I mean, sorry, but that is quality shit in my book. You 100% have to go into Riverdale like you're gonna watch something like The Room. Acting, terrible. Writing, terrible. But it's absolutely fucking hilarious. Me and my friend would get drunk and just watch Riverdale and endlessly laugh at it and how completely bonkers it is. There is literally too many hilarious plot holes and plot twists to mention, and I've probably forgot most of them by now because of how frequent they are. The one thing I genuinely cringe at is the underage sex shit, even though the actors are obviously 25. While I don't defend Where It Went in later seasons, I found if you approached it not as a high school show but just a drama, it was much better. I had the same problem when I watched the movie Brick with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I thought it would have been so much better if it just wasn't set at high school, because that shit is just so unreasonably dramatic for that setting. I honestly wish nothing was set in high school, but alas, you don't write movies or TV shows. Edit, just realized my phone auto-corrected the last sentence. I meant I don't write movies. You know what really bugs me about Riverdale? That it pretends to be Archie. Other than the names of the characters, the show bears no relation to the comics whatsoever. Is Hollywood really so scared to make something new that they have to shoehorn pre-existing IP into a completely unrelated show? It'd be farcical if it wasn't so pathetic. Change the names, and no one would have any idea they were watching Archie and Jughead, and there'd be no impetus to try, however half-heartedly, to pass off a Samoan as a redhead, or dye Cole Sprouse's famously blonde hair jet black. Big Brother. I don't know why, but people love that show in my country, Nigeria, for just going there to enjoy luxury, win prizes and be boring and immature on television. And to make it worse, that show was meant for people that were poor or looking for opportunities to showcase their talents, but instead it is filled with rich grown adults who just want to be verified on Instagram. Really annoys me every time. It all started with Big Brother Africa, which was interesting and fascinating to see people from different countries with different accents and cultures all in one house, and as you might guess, that show did well, but Big Brother Africa stopped airing for whatever reason, and my country decided to capitalize on it and call it Big Brother Nigeria, but hosted in South Africa for some reason, and the first one was pretty good, but as it went on it became terrible. There is a season airing now in Nigeria, and from what I can see on social media, it looks boring and bland and filled with men that looks like they are in their late 30s and lied in their resume. It was an interesting concept back at the very beginning, something completely unique that had never been done before, and an interesting insight into the people. The problem was that past the initial few runs, we all realized that it wasn't that interesting once the novelty wore off. So they had to start screwing with it to make interesting TV, and the contestants were all going in with ulterior motives and playing for the cameras more, a better public science experiment than an entertainment show. This show got my attention because of how vociferously people hated a popular show. I had to see what the controversy was about. Then, I liked it. I watched it for a while to see how people decide to either like or dislike strangers, especially in the first 2 weeks. I am rotten at socializing, so I thought I could pick up some clues about how people end up with the popular set and others become outsiders. I actually ended up enjoying the show so much because of the games and silliness. I'd root for people to win. I lasted around 5 seasons. I think it serves its purpose to give screen time to aspiring performers. I took a shower and had left the TV on in the other room. After I got out, that show had come on and I could hear it playing as I was toweling off and getting dressed. Just hearing it, the dialogue was honestly non-stop. Canned laughter, inexplicably pause, repeat. It just went on and on like that. It might as well have had every other line be "that's what she said." A lot of it just makes me so annoyed because it's so far from real life. It just feels like someone who never had to think twice about spending money wrote a show about poverty and working your way up. I feel like most of the show is the characters whining about being poor and how terrible their life is, while all I see is how incredibly privileged they are. I mean, they live in a really big apartment in Brooklyn, own a freaking horse, have a garden, wear nice clothes and high heels, have safe jobs, lots of support. The diner owner helps them grow their business by letting them sell their cupcakes and even letting them open their shop in the back. They constantly get enormous chances which they always blow because they are lazy, feel too good for it, or act like children. They don't even bother showing up at work every day. It just annoys me so much what whiny assholes the main characters are, and that the show tries so hard to make me feel bad for them or sell me that they have it so hard. You can't afford toilet paper? Maybe you should at least show up at work in the next scene. Or I'd not have a horse and a cat, not only wear designer clothes. The only good thing about Glee was how pissy the creators would get when they asked people like Dave Grohl if they could use their music, then get told to fuck off. Every single news article would be like, Glee asked to use a Foo Fighters song. Dave Grohl said no because Glee sucks. Then the creator went on Twitter to bitch about how shit Dave Grohl is, even though only a week ago they wanted his music. I just want to say that as someone who loves Glee well into its 6th season, I'm a sucker for singing, and obviously pretty easy to entertain. The moment where the show really jumped the shark for me was when they gave Artie robot legs. Picture this. Here's a kid in a wheelchair who wants to dance with his girlfriend at prom. So how does the show resolve this at the end? Yup, you guessed it. They give this motherfucker robot fucking legs so he can accomplish this task, and they played uplifting music over it. As if it's no big deal that these people have access to technology that gives people the power to walk again. But here's the fucked up part. In the very next episode, He was back in the wheelchair. They took them away, and not a goddamn thing this poor handicapped boy could do about it. They don't acknowledge it happened, and I presume he never dances again after that. I stopped watching. The shows were never good, but in the early seasons I was at least entertained by The Flash and Supergirl. They've devolved to the point of being unwatchable. I'm convinced that they're saving money by never ever revising a script. The Flash is basically a bunch of incredibly convoluted pseudoscience and nonsensical origins of threats that they defeat with an equally convoluted regurgitation of said pseudoscience that someone either instantly invents a machine to fix or bury motivational speech as a way. Supergirl tries so hard to be woke and draw the most painfully transparent real-world parallels that they can. So hard, in fact, that they do so at the expense of all else, including writing anything close to a coherent solid storyline. The new Superman and Lois is so far beyond either of those shows in terms of writing and production values. I'm enjoying it so far, but dreading the day they decide to phone it in like every other Arrowverse show inevitably ends up doing. It's the same reason people on Reddit are always astounded when they hear The Walking Dead is about to air their 11th season. Although it's the final one, its ratings fell but never tanked. I'm sure it's the same with Grey's Anatomy. If a show can guarantee a certain amount of viewers, why would they cancel it and hope the next show could get at least that amount of viewers? Plenty of other shows to cancel that don't bring in guaranteed numbers. I guess the one reason would be cost. After a certain amount of seasons, these actors and actresses' prices go up, so I could see them needing to hit a certain ratings to justify the cost. Plenty of good shows with decent amount of viewers get cancelled due to budget issues. There is a parody of Real Housewives on Hulu called The Hot Wives of Vegas and Hot Wives of Florida. Can't remember the Florida city they use, but it was a hilarious couple of shows. A couple of the actresses are on both series. One plays the same role, the other plays a different character on each show. It's the chick from The Office, the cat lady. On this Florida one she plays a devout Christian wife with the sister who was a child star and now she's just a drunk. It's actually worth checking out. Anything on Bravo. My mom likes it, but it's just a bunch of rich wives that somehow always hates each other, and have to solve it like children. I get the point of reality shows are supposed to be around drama like this, but there's a line between drama and straight up outrageous and stupid. The only show I like on there is Married to Medicine, because it shows women who are actually smart and make their own money. Yes, there is drama, but I'm guessing since they didn't always rely on their husbands to pay their way out of it, they handle it like adults, and move on. As someone with a degree in physics, I hate this show with a passion. All it does is make fun of smart people while pretending it's laughing along with them. Thank God this show finally ended. Maybe now I won't immediately be compared to Sheldon whenever I tell people what I went to university for. We aren't different people. We're normal. We can talk to strangers, we might go to Comic-Con and dress up and cosplay, we might not. This show was hell-bent on painting us like some socially awkward comic book reading incels, and people immediately assume that's what I'm like because of it. The thing that's even worse about the show is that Sheldon is not canonically autistic, it's just Sheldon being Sheldon. Whatever the fuck that means. It's really no different than having an ethnic character whose exact ethnicity you refuse to pin down so that you can engage in whatever tropes you want without actually having to answer for it, or research it for accuracy. Given that the audience reads him as autistic anyway, the show could have just had the fucking courage to hire a script advisor and go with it, getting some legit representation out there. But no, they couldn't even go that far. As someone who engages in geek and nerd culture, I've seen people that only slightly engage in that type of stuff tell me it's the perfect show for me. I tried. I swear I tried. I watched 5 random episodes spread throughout all the seasons. It's just so bad. Most of the jokes are them referencing something nerdy and the laugh track is them liking that sort of stuff supposed to be funny. I felt like the show was laughing at me and not with me. Plus, the characters are horrible people. Sheldon is an annoying little sexist bitch. The Indian is actually a cool guy. The glasses one is someone who needs to learn how to take no for an answer, and the other one is really creepy and somewhat rapey. Twilight story time. I was born just as the Twilight movies were coming out. My big sister read the books, and she didn't want to say anything to my parents, who decided to name me Bella, because apparently it took them a very long time to choose a name. So I grew up with people asking if I am a Twilight baby, which I am not, and meeting other Twilight babies, who are all dogs, because nobody had the guts who named their actual child after Bella from Twilight. Edit. I forgot to mention the worst part of this. I am very pale with black hair. I look like a vampire. Oh ha ha, you're Bella and you look like a vampire. Ha he he, Hamilton Queen. Oh ooh, 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 ooh. I made a Build-A-Bear and named it Bella because I was a child who liked Beauty and the Beast but already had a toy named Belle, and the teen behind the counter made fun of me. I have never read Twilight, so I didn't even understand or follow what she was saying. Anyway, I'm sorry that was the name you were given within the time period you were given it, but at least it's a pretty name. Wait until all the Game of Thrones babies grow up and meet. 13 Reasons Why. As a former suicidal, that shit was just too unrealistic for me. That and the plot was shit because I lost immersion. Sis liked it enough to finish it though. Edit. Found out sis only liked the first season, but finished seasons 1 and 2. She dropped the 3rd and 4th. That's another strike against 13 Reasons Why. Also, to anyone thinking about suicide, think but don't do. Besides, I didn't kill myself out of the practicality. Revenge is a thing. So is proving the world wrong. That and try practicing Stoicism, Western philosophy, or Buddhism, Eastern philosophy, or both. The introduction of Negan was just incredible. He quickly became my favorite character, and it happened at a time I was losing interest in the show, though not even he could keep me interested in the show. Weird shit that made no sense just kept happening, and I haven't seen anything since the death of a certain hated character that suddenly caused outrage. I did watch it up to like season 3 or something, and I remember watching one of the main characters, after making yet another idiotic decision, getting ripped apart or some such, and I just turned it immediately off and never watched it again. How any of those people survived for so long in an apocalypse is beyond me. TWD had some of the most intense moments of television and a bunch of brilliant, unforgettable scenes. I'll find you. Look at the flowers, but it certainly has a lot of flaws that make watching it a slog sometimes. I enjoyed it for a lot of the stories of people rebuilding society and how nation-states are formed, but it does have a lot of filler episodes, ridiculous character motivations, and entire story arcs that just make some of it hard to watch. Definitely felt like it hit its peak at the campfire scene. But it certainly has a lot of flaws that make watching it a slog sometimes. Around the time the Saviors showed up and they fully settled into the soap opera cliffhanger formula, it became unbearable. As a comic reader, that was the section I was looking forward to, and the casting of JDM worked great for me. Then it fully turned into the prime-time version of As the Zombie Turns or The Young and the Zombified. I made it through that season and the start of the next and gave up. I keep up with it for a friend who I always used to talk to about episodes on Monday morning, so we can keep that up. But I don't watch anymore. Listen. We started watching Baywatch, came for how ridiculous it looked and just the aura around it, but stayed for the plot. That sounds silly, but those first episodes are pretty dark. A psycho girl gets saved, falls in love with the lifeguard, tries to convince his wife he cheated on her, then tries to kill her. Some other guy doesn't hyperventilate enough, so can't hold his breath for long enough to save people and drowns. It's some wild stuff. That is what we had in the 90s, just shows on network TV. Honestly, I thought it was great then, and I do now as well. Must see Thursday on NBC with Friends. Seinfeld and Frasier was awesome at the time. Most people posting on here are probably too young to care or not born yet at the time. I don't blame you for not liking it if that is the case. It's not like I look back on 70s TV and think it is so great. I think the basic premise is interesting. If you were in the middle of the wilderness with nothing but your wits, could you survive? How would you do it? Of course the answer is no, because the average person is not trained to survive in the wilderness, and even if they were, it would still be incredibly difficult. But it would be cool to put a person in that scenario and see how far they get without it being too dangerous. The show could be interesting if it focused on how people solved some problems of the scenario, like how to obtain food, clothing, shelter, etc., and it would be cool to see future participants in later episodes who have seen the previous episodes, and they build upon and expand the techniques of the previous participants.